A good spouse doesn't deserve to be in a non-intimate marriage.
What is a non-intimate marriage?
Well, we're going to talk about that. So I think most people out there know what a
I
non-intimate
think
marriage
their minds are
is.
going to go straight to non-sexual intimate marriage, but we're not going to just talk about that
Non-sexual?
today. I mean, like there's no sexual intimacy in the marriage.
Yeah, which we are going to talk about that, but we're also talking about emotional
Right.
intimacy as well
Just
too.
intimacy in every aspect. I think non-intimate would mean there's no intimacy anymore, right?
And there is a ton of spouses on both sides, whether the husband's not giving the emotional intimacy that his wife deserves and needs, and the wife's not giving the physical intimacy that the husband deserves or needs.
Or the other way
Now,
around.
now, or the other way around. Now, we want to be very clear. We are talking today to spouses who are in good relationships. If you're in a relationship that's not a healthy relationship, this podcast is not for you. This is for
Right.
couples
Right.
that are in a good, respectful, healthy relationship. And again, we're talking that good spouses deserve to not be in a
So
non-intimate
it's obviously
marriage.
not a good marriage if someone's cutting off intimacy, though. So what you're saying is we're not talking to couples. We're not going to be like, you need to step up the sexual intimacy in your marriage if you're have an abusive or
Exactly.
narcissistic spouse, is what we're saying. Is like it's a super unhealthy relationship. But there are healthy, I mean, we get into this conversation all the time. Like, what is a healthy? Like, we all have a different definition of what healthy is, right? So, what we're talking about, like couples where both spouses are respectful to each other, like it's a good marriage, but the intimacy is not so great,
Yeah, but
right?
exactly. But when you went to the altar and you said I do and you signed up to marry this person, right? Like there are certain expectations that and I know we're getting into our expectations, good or bad again, but there are certain, I don't even want to say expectations. There are certain things that you're basically committing to each other, right?
I
Like a
You can
husband,
say that you don't have expectations when you get married, and therapists say, oh, expectations are bad sometimes. I 100% disagree with that. Like, I absolutely went into marriage with
like
expectations.
if I went to Amy and I said, "Hey, I just want to let you know before we get married here in a few minutes, like I'm not going to give you any emotional intimacy.
I
Like
would
if you
not
want
sign
to
up for
talk,
that.
like I'm not here for you,
Right.
right? What do you think
I,
she's going to do? She's going to be like, "This is not the guy I want," right? Like I want to have deep conversations. I want you to be romantic. I want you to do the things that we've been doing that led up to this point for us to get married. If
if I said to him, like, I'm sorry, but sexual intimacy is not going to be on my priority list, he'd probably be like, whoa, that's really big. Like, maybe we don't get married,
Yeah,
right?
I thought the connection was there, right?
Right.
Like that's important. That's
That's,
the way most men
yeah.
feel loved, right?
And a lot of women, yeah.
And a lot of women, that's right. So, as we dive into this podcast, we're going to hit on the reasons why. And I hope if you're a spouse out there that is on the receiving end to where you're trying to be a good spouse, because we hear this all the time from both men and women, but one jumps out to my mind is just a husband that's like, I cook, I take the kids, like I try to do everything I can to be the most amazing husband in the world. And my wife just won't even give me the time of day, right? And we don't know if this is real or if this is the husband's side of the story, but we do know there are a lot of men out there and women, but there are a lot of men out there also that are like, I try to pick up every aspect of our life so that my wife will make intimacy a priority and she just doesn't want anything to do with me.
And there's a lot of wives that say, my husband just thinks that I'm going to be submissive to him, and he gives me no love, no real respect, makes me do everything around the house, isn't really a great dad, and just thinks that that's going to come naturally. And so it goes both ways.
For
Like
sure.
emotional intimacy, no one deserves that either.
So again, if you're a couple that like you are in a good relationship and
Good.
whatever that looks like,
So I don't want to backfire
I,
because they're like, if you're in a good relationship, wouldn't you have some intimacy in your marriage? Like
no,
maybe it's not a good
okay.
relationship.
You
It
have
was a good relationship. It was a good, respectful relationship. The
you
intimacy's
you
missing,
have good
right?
qualities and your intentions are good. Like you're literally trying to be good, right? Like you're putting forth a lot of effort.
You mean the one person?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
we're talking about marriages where one person has stopped putting in the effort and the other
Correct.
one is still trying to put in the effort. Right.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So let's jump in. So, number one, intimacy is a core part of marriage. It's not a bonus, right? That is a massive part of marriage is the emotional and physical intimacy in a relationship. That is huge.
Right.
Your marriage will not survive without the emotional connection and the physical connection. It won't. Like you're done.
You're done.
So yeah, and people out there can say, "Oh, that's a bunch of crap." Well, okay, your marriage might not get end in divorce, but you're going to be miserable. You're not going to be happy. In fact, the poll we did a little while ago, it was like 93% of couples said that sexual intimacy is vital to have a healthy and happy marriage. That
Wives
was,
too,
that was
yeah.
both men and women, right?
Hmm.
So they recognize that. And yeah, that poll was only sexual intimacy, but we'll get into emotional intimacy as well. So again, it is a core part of marriage. It's not just a bonus. It shouldn't be treated as something like, oh, well, if you do all these things, then I'll be sexually intimate with you. Or if you do these things, then I'll talk to you, right? Like those should be normal things within a relationship.
They should be. They should be.
Yeah.
Right.
So what about a spouse who constantly shows up? He or she, they're helping with the kids, they're helping around the house, like we hear about so often. Because we hear about, like I said, they reach out to us and they're like, I'm amazing when it comes to like just being around the house and stuff and the
Good job.
kids.
You're doing your duty. Good job.
Okay, yeah, but how many spouses withhold and say, well, I'm not going to connect with you until you do A, B, C, D, and E, right?
Yeah, that's not okay. It goes both ways. Like, it's just a really hard conversation for us to have because there's just so many parts to this, okay? So, okay, how do I even begin? I have a whiteboard. And it's like to get on the same page so the both aspects are working means that a husband and some wives like doing the teamwork stuff with the house and with the kids is just part of being a good parent. Just part of being a good parent. So instead of using like, well, I did this, and I did the dishes and I did this, that's your congratulations. You were a good person. Okay. And then there's just so much more to it. Okay. So she needs to feel loved by you. That just doesn't mean that you did the checklist, husbands, of I helped around the house. So why don't you want to be intimate anymore? Like you have to feel her soul. She needs to feel loved by you. It's not, it still has to be a little bit more romantic connection in the marriage. Are you complimenting her? Are you only touching her when you want something? There's stuff deeper than I did the dishes and I helped with stuff. Helped, right? The triggering word help. But with women, it's like, okay, if he's a good husband and yeah, he's doing his part around the home, then it's not okay to withhold sex if he's trying really hard to show love to you and to date you. Like, I don't know. I'm getting in a rabbit hole here because we shouldn't have
But
checklists on either side, right? But you have to feel loved. You have to feel desired. And if he feels desired this way and she feels desired this way, you both have to give part of that that's not naturally easy for you is what I'm trying to say. I know it's going to be a whole nother like longer conversation about this, but
yeah, and I go back to the episode we did, is this emotional and sexual intimacy game destroying your marriage?
right.
Where the
We always
wife's
talk
the
about it.
wife's
Yes.
like, oh, I'm not getting the emotional intimacy, therefore I'm shutting him off. And the husband's like, well, I'm not getting the sexual intimacy, so why would I invest in the emotional intimacy? The bottom line is you are both of you like sex should emotional intimacy and sexual intimacy should never be used as a weapon to try to get what you want. But unfortunately, so many couples do, right? Like, oh, you know, he didn't do this today, therefore, yeah, he's cut off. Like I'm not.
I don't really think it's a cutoff because he didn't do something. I don't really think that that's the problem. A lot
For
of the situation where you have a lower drive wife is she's literally physically exhausted and our libido it's the last thing on our mind when we're tired and we're stressed. She might be carrying all the mental load. She might be having to work outside the home though, which puts a whole nother thing on her. Or you know what I mean? Like even just being a full-time mom is so busy if you have multiple children. She might have some hormone issues. And this goes both ways because if he has a low drive, it might be stress, it might be low testosterone. Like, there's just so many things that can cause that. So, yeah, we're not just talking about like a checklist, like, oh, he didn't do this because, like, it takes a lot of teamwork and conversation and communication to feel one in marriage. And when you are a spouse, husband or wife that has a lower drive, that really has to be tapped into to feel connected enough to want to get in the mood.
Yeah.
That's the whole entire point, right? Like, it's not, it's a unified feeling in our marriage that we have to really work on both sides to feel that place, at that place where we can even work on, okay, let's use foreplay to get in the mood. Let's even have the goal that being intimate is really awesome in our marriage. Like, when the emotional connection is not there, the sexual intimacy isn't even going to be on one person's mind. It's just not. So it goes both ways. Like, how does your spouse need to feel loved? How can you do better a job at showing him love? Like, on her list, it might not be doing chores. She might, in her mind, be like, you should be doing that anyway. So it might be a romantic connection that she needs, or a conversation and a holding hands and a walk later in the evening. Like, it might be, it's going to be different to everybody.
Yeah. So I'm gonna
So it's hard to talk to everyone in this situation because it's going to be so different to
I'm
everybody.
probably gonna make a lot of people mad, and I don't care. This is just my opinion. I'm not stating this as fact, but I think there are a lot of women who understand how important sexual intimacy is to their husband. I think they understand how powerful it is, and I think they understand very clearly how they can use that to get what they want. I really do. And I'm not saying that trying to be negative, but I think women generally understand that, hey, this is something that's so powerful that I can use it to get more, or I can use it to get something that I want. And I'm not saying that's right. Um, but I think a lot of women do. And you're right. Maybe they have a low libido. Maybe there's a lot of stress and different things like that. But I also really believe that they also, for a lot of women, they recognize the control and the power they have over their husbands with sexual intimacy. And I think a lot of women do utilize that to their advantage, to where it gets to the point to where they're like, well, if my husband doesn't do A, B, C, D, and E, then I am going to use that power to try to get more, or to try to. Does that make sense?
It does, but I'm going to disagree that a lot of women are like that. I literally think that most moms, especially the ones listening to the podcast, are literally just tired. They literally just like, I'm sorry, I'm trying, I want to be passionate in my marriage. I want to care about that. I just don't. And it's not that I'm trying to withhold. I'm not trying to like create some list in my mind. I literally just, it's just not a huge priority to me.
Yeah.
And the husbands that have the low drive feel like that too. Like, it goes both ways. Like, the women that have the high drives that are reaching out to us, like, my husband just doesn't care. Like, if a husband is in that situation, he understands what that's like also. Like, I don't think that most couples that are out there, like, I'm just going to withhold because I want to be toxic. I think that's a different personality. I think most moms and most wives that are just literally physically exhausted, they're like, okay, like, it was really exciting and
Well,
passionate at the beginning of the marriage, but that's kind of died down for me. I'm kind of bored. Hey, I have kids and I'm dealing with people all day. And sometimes it does feel like another person I have to take care of because it's not on my mind. Like, I think the disconnect isn't coming from a toxic attitude. It does sometimes. I think on the most part, we're having some disconnect. And I think that, to go off the other side of that, I think that a lot of husbands are like, why don't you want to make love to me? That he comes home from work and he goes and gets on his video games. Like, that is so unattractive. A wife's gonna build resentment super fast while she's cleaning the kitchen and fixing dinner and putting the kids to bed. I'm not saying all husbands do that. I'm just saying there's little things that sometimes are like, oh, it's out tonight because, like, you're bugging me right now. And that's marriage, right? Like, sometimes we bug each other, and the first thing to go off our mind is connection,
but what I
sexually or emotionally.
But what I'm saying, and this is in the title of our podcast, is okay, I agree with you, but let's say a husband does come home and he plays video games, right? But in
Mhm.
all other aspects, he's like a good husband. but he does come home and play video games.
I'm not against video
Many
games.
women are going to look at that and immediately that's going to turn them off. That one thing is going to turn them off.
Hmm.
So I think from a husband standpoint, we look at it and say that we do feel like our now maybe going back to my comment, I can't read a woman's mind. I can't read your
No.
mind, but we still can feel a certain way and think that that's how our wives feel because that's kind of the results that we get, right? Like we're like,
Right.
oh, I try to do everything right, and even if I do something wrong, it's like, oh, he just did something wrong, therefore, just like you said, he comes home and plays a video game. He doesn't even know he's doing anything wrong.
That's
And all of
a
a sudden
conversation.
a wife's mind is like, well, why would I want to make love to him? He just came home and played a video game. From a husband's standpoint, he's like, I didn't even know I did anything wrong. Like,
Communication.
yeah, exactly. Communication.
But what if the husband walked in and said, I am so happy to be home. You look like you're busy making dinner. And maybe she works full time. Maybe you get home at the same time. Okay. Like we understand that. You both get home from work, whatever. And he goes and he's tired, which I'm not against video games. Please don't get mad at me. Like we all have to like recuperate,
Yeah.
whatever that looks like, right? I'm not saying I'm like against that. I'm just saying when it comes down to marriage and conversation and feeling connected to each other, instead of going and a wife's guilty of like maybe scrolling her phone, or maybe she's a video game person. I whatever that looks like in your marriage, where you're kind of just go do your own thing and you're disconnected. If you want a strong intimate life, it's going to take not getting on your phone or video game, those kind of things, putting those things aside and being like, how do I be a better spouse to you? How do I be a better spouse to you today? And it takes both people caring about that answer and both people asking that answer. So if a husband or a wife was like, hey, I would love to make love later to you, and a wife was like, well, I would love to feel like I don't have to do everything around this house tonight. Like dinner needs to be done. The kitchen's a mess. The upstairs is a mess. The kids have got to go here, here, and here. Like I would love if we felt like teammates tonight.
Yeah.
Right. And
And
you
we
take
talk
some of
about
that.
that.
And
We talk about that
I know
all
we
the
do,
time.
but this
You're
always
right.
comes down to communication. Like
Correct.
if you want her to want to be intimate, you have got to ask the question, how can I be a better husband to you today? How do I make you feel more loved? And vice
But
versa. How do I be a better wife to you? And wives, yes, that just goes both ways. If you feel like teammates that night, you're both just stepping it up, conquering things together. He's trying his hardest to be romantic, whatever that looks like, absolutely. It's important to prioritize being intimate a couple times a week or once a week or whatever that healthy balance is in your marriage. Like his needs matter, hers needs matter. We just got to figure out how to communicate better about those without
no
getting
question.
triggered easy,
No
right?
question. But I don't mean to keep sticking on this, but I go back to this like one thing can turn a wife from being in the mood to not being in the mood. Like it can be one
It's
little
also
thing.
like you've had experience with this or
No, I'm
something.
just saying, like how many emails do we honestly get with like the same
And
thing?
I get all the ones from the wife saying my husband sucks at emotional intimacy and I don't want to make love to him. Yeah, yeah.
I get that.
We get both sides.
I totally get that. And again, what we're talking about in this podcast episode is
Both
good
types.
spouses, right? So
Both types, yeah.
we're not diving into a spouse that's a jerk or things like that. That we're not trying to get into that in this podcast. What we're saying though is like women, you got to be a little bit like understanding and if your husband isn't perfect but he's a good guy and he's really trying his best, like don't let your mind say, well, he didn't do this perfectly, therefore, I'm cutting it off tonight. And husbands, same thing for your wives. I do think that men in general are a little less like that. Meaning,
You
they're
mean
not,
cutting off emotional
yeah, like
intimacy?
they're not going to cut off the emotional intimacy that quickly. But
Some
again,
do.
this is just we're just having a discussion. I'm not a marriage therapist. I'm just giving you our
The
feeling based upon the feedback that we get. But when there's
right.
that imbalance, and this is going to get to the whole point. When there's that imbalance and one spouse feels like they're the ones giving all the time and not receiving, or vice versa, when there's that imbalance, it's going to, especially withholding intimacy, it's going to create that bigger imbalance and it's just going to get worse and worse. Withholding intimacy from each other is not okay, and
Either way, right?
either way, right?
And
But
either
then on the
kind.
other hand, it shouldn't be shut off or wall put up when a spouse is truly trying to be a good spouse just because they missed the mark on something or some, you know what I mean? Because that imbalance is going to continue to grow, and then that's going to create a bigger wedge between the couple.
I think marriages would be happier if wives would initiate more with the high if she has a high drive husband.
Yeah.
This can go the other way around. Please know that. If wives would initiate more, thank their husbands more, and husbands would literally speak her love language more and not expect the wife to run the house by herself. Those two sides. Like this is just what we get from our audience. Like I know can be completely
Yeah.
different, but what we hear from the majority of people that write us and DM us and email us is the biggest complaints are the husband says his list is too long, intimacy is never on her not intimacy, being intimate is not on her priority list.
Yeah, hear that all the
And
time.
and yes, there's sometimes it's withholding a toxic crap, hopefully not, but a lot of the time I'm just saying like it's really hard for a wife to care about that if her libido is low. She needs hormone replacements, she needs to depress, you need to make the bedroom more fun together, like whatever that is. She needs to have an orgasm every single time for her to even desire to do it with you. I'm sorry, like those kind of things that we talk about in our podcast, very important. And the other big complaint is that wives are expected to do everything around the house while a lot of them are also working outside the house. So there needs to be more teamwork in marriage and more communication in marriage. And that's really hard, believe me. Like in our marriage, like those things have been very off in our relationship the first 12 years. Very off. Like a lot of resentment, a lot of scorekeeping, a lot of that kind of stuff. Like we understand. And so both people's needs being equally important in the marriage, it needs to be discussed, which
Yeah.
is like really why we created the app and all of our products was to communicate better, right?
Yep.
Because the couples literally just said, "How can I be a better spouse to you today?" And how can I be a better spouse to you today? And the wife's like, "I would really love this," and the husband was like, "Well, I would really love this." And if the wife actually cared, she'd be like, "Okay, well, let's work on this together. Let's do
Yep.
this, and then let's be intimate tonight." Or just cuddle tonight, or watch and snuggle a movie tonight. Just prioritizing each other more. Marriages would be changed.
Okay, and
It's not hard.
hitting on what you're saying, I think it's so vital and important to know that both of your needs matter, right?
Right.
Like if your husband needs the sexual intimacy to feel connected to you, his needs matter. If your wife needs the emotional intimacy, her needs matter. Both of your needs matter, and they shouldn't be dismissed just because maybe you don't feel the same way. Amy and I talk about this all the time, right? Like I have a high desire, she doesn't. That's totally okay, right? I don't understand how she feels, she doesn't understand how I feel, but we both look at each other and I'm like, your needs matter to me because
Mhm.
I want you to be happy. I love you. And she recognizes that, hey, Nick's needs matter to me because it's important to him. And I think if you can just have that attitude instead of saying, well, I'm not in the mood, or I don't feel like talking to my wife, or whatever, just because emotional intimacy might not be important to you as a man, that doesn't mean it's not really important to her,
Right.
right? And you can't dismiss that. And so I think it's so important for both spouses to realize, okay, just because I don't feel that way or it's not a need to me doesn't mean that that is not a very, very important need to them and it's not valid. So it's not selfish for a husband to want sexual intimacy and to be affectionate. That's
Or
not
a wife.
selfish at all, or a wife. It's not selfish for a wife to want the emotional connection with her husband. We're oftentimes wired differently. Many ways we're wired the same way, but we're oftentimes wired differently as men and women, but those needs are still valid and still very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
um, another reason why intimacy, talking about both physical and emotional, is so important is it builds trust, connection, and brings you joy. Think of like the best conversations that you've had together as a couple, right? Like it brings you closer together. It makes you happy. It's an amazing thing that does.
Mm-hmm.
Think of the best sexual intimacy you have. you've had together. Like that's no different. It makes you extremely happy. It brings you closer together as a couple. It builds trust. That vulnerability just it does so many things for you. So whether it's emotional intimacy or sexual intimacy, it does the same thing. There are very, very positive benefits from just being more intimate together as a couple in both ways.
Isn't it interesting how God created us and the things that I don't want to get into this like a long spill on this, but isn't it interesting how our differences are meant to bring us together by finding balance, right? And our personalities are usually different, so we're supposed to find balance in being different, right? Like like God was so brilliant when he created marriage, even though sometimes it's like feels like the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
But like it literally was like a test. Like we're put here to like get married, have families, and it's a test. And sometimes it's a really hard test. But like I don't know, the older I get, the more I see like these differences, like, okay, when you figure this out, it's amazing. It
Well,
just takes figuring it out. But like he's teaching us self-control and to not be prideful, like humility and
unselfishness.
unselfishness and to care and to listen. All these like Christ-like attributes we're being taught in marriage to see if we can learn them. And what a better test than to put a husband and a wife together and being like, here you go. You have to figure out those things. And
Good
when
luck
you
to you.
figure out how to be humble
Let your
and to
pride
be and
down.
not be selfish with each other and like I don't have the needs you have, but I have to learn to take care of our needs that we both have and find that balance. Like it's such a gift that he gave us to make us have to learn these things.
And I
And
think
it's
I
tricky.
think you just said something that's powerful. Our needs together,
Our
right? We
needs.
we put my needs in a bucket, you put your needs in a
Hmm.
bucket, and they become our
Well, they
needs.
go hand in
It's not
hand.
just my needs or your needs, it's like our needs. And some are going to be more important to you and less important to me, and vice versa. But if they become our needs, then they become equal, should become
Hmm.
equally important, right?
Yeah.
So,
Right. Right. And God was pretty awesome to give us the body parts that we can enjoy it also. And we talk about that in lots of episodes. Like when you can figure out how to really enjoy being intimate together, but that is because you came from a really strong emotional connecting foundation, which took us years to build, years to build. But when you get there, it's like, this is a beautiful thing.
yeah,
This is a beautiful thing. And
absolutely.
that's like literally our goal is to kind of just help everybody get there in your own ways,
Yeah, and I love this next one too, is intimacy isn't just about sex or like it's about love. It's a form of love. That's the way many of us express love is, I mean, even for a low desire spouse. Like when you think of coming together as a couple that loves each other, you often think of connecting sexually. Like that's a form of expression of showing love, being vulnerable. And so if you're not connecting that way, it's going to be very detrimental to your marriage. You know, if one spouse is saying, "Sorry, I don't want to make love to you," that's how often do we hear of someone saying, "Oh, I feel like my spouse doesn't love me because you
My needs
know,
don't matter.
my needs don't matter, right? Like,
Yeah.
or we're not intimate." Many people
I
express that,
I
don't
think that we need to sometimes go back to like when we were first married. If you had an amazing first year or two or whatever, when you did find out like, okay, being intimate is really amazing, right? Like whenever that happened for you, like you fell in love with each other, you were super in love with each other at
they?
one
Yeah.
point in your marriage. So there had to have been an intimate time in your marriage where it was like a super amazing, super connecting, super uniting. You're like, this is love, this is true love, right? Like if you've experienced that in your marriage at any time and you remember that experience and how amazing it was, like that's what God created for marriage all the time.
Hmm.
Not that it's going to be like that all the time, but like it can be if you figure out how to take care of each other's needs. And that's
Yeah.
the whole point. Like if you can come back to like because there's a lot of days where you're like, why is that the cherry on top? Like what? I don't even have a high desire. Like why is that it? Like if you can think back to that time where it was really awesome for both of you, like super amazing. Like yeah, it is the cherry on top when everything else is so strong that you feel those emotions. And that's what you're trying to get to again.
Well, and think of how good you feel when you're doing things that make your spouse feel happy, right? Regardless of what it is, right? When you're serving your
Right.
spouse, like when regardless of what I'm doing for you, when you're happy because of something I've done like that, that's an amazing thing.
When you buy me a case of raspberries, I'm just
Yeah.
sitting there eating them. I'm like, dude, that guy loves
That
me.
makes me feel happy. It's not my favorite thing to run to the store and get raspberries, but I hands down will do it anytime. I'll do it at midnight because I know it makes
Okay,
my
and
girl
I don't
happy.
want to get into transactional sex because you're gonna get mad at me for saying that word. But like sometimes in marriage, I'm like, oh, he just took 30 minutes to run to the store and get me raspberries. I'm giving him 30 minutes tonight. Like,
And I'm not complaining,
and
but
that's just having a positive attitude. My needs are taken care of, your needs are taken care of. Like that's what a great marriage takes. And it comes from a strong foundation first. I get that.
yeah, and I mean, what you just said is really simple, right? Like, I mean,
It's not about equal
he's doing
time,
something,
but yeah.
he's doing something to show me that he loves me, and that's very attractive. So I'm going to show him that I love him, and
Right,
vice versa,
right.
right?
And learning
And it,
how to love what each other loves is key too. Because if
yep,
you don't love being intimate, like always dive down and be like, how do I enjoy it? How do I tell him what I need? How do like that, like we talk about the toy. I'm like, that thing makes me enjoy it every time. Like figure out what you need to do in your marriage so that you can enjoy it and figure out what you like if my happiness puts you know what I mean? Like you like to try to start giving me raspberries because you can picture that smile on my face. Like,
absolutely,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like figure out what it takes for you to enjoy the thing that your spouse enjoys.
And regardless, like when I do that, I'm not thinking, oh, I'm gonna get made
No,
love to tonight. Like
no.
I literally like so many things that I do for Amy is I truly just want her to be happy. I want Amy to think I've got the best husband in the world. Like I could never find anyone better. Like that's truly how I feel. Like I want her to feel is like, oh my heck, I got the best guy ever. And I think she feels the same way about me, right? Like I want Nick to feel like he's got the greatest wife ever. And I think when we do that, I don't know. It's just it's so much it's hard to do, but it's so much easier like
It really just comes to not
it,
being selfish.
yeah, it
Like
really
you're
just comes down to like, what can I do to make our marriage better and show my spouse how much I love them, even if it's not like the most fourth thing on my
Mhm,
mind. Like constantly just be thinking about how do we make
mhm,
our relationship better, whether it's connect, emotionally and again, like Amy said, it's understanding the love language, right? Like so
mhm.
you know, I know there's certain things that Amy could care less about, so I don't try to show her love that way. And I'm not always perfect, but like, Amy's not a physical touch person, so I'm not going to go express the love language in a physical touch way. She knows that I am physical touch. And so understanding your spouse's love language and just trying to show them love that way, I think is so important.
It can be really hard. It can be very tricky.
So I guess what we're saying in the whole podcast is if you're in a decent relationship, like step it up.
Make it passionate.
Step it
You can
up.
make it passionate again.
Yeah. Don't use the excuse that um I don't need to fulfill their needs or fulfill their needs. Like, yes, when you said I do, you have a responsibility to love each other, care for each other, and fulfill each other's needs and desires and love.
Mhm.
Right? That's part of love, right? Is being unselfish and that means having better communication and more romance in your marriage and putting forth on date nights and all these things that we're talking about that have to do with being intimate,
Mhm.
right? Not just the
Being
sex.
intimate is a lot of different things. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, speaking of being intimate, if you need a little help in this area, we have phenomenal products that focus on emotional intimacy, sexual intimacy, and everything in between.
Hmm.
Go check it out, shop.ultimateintimacy.com. We have amazing products. We are a Christian couple, so you don't have to worry about what you're going to see or run into. Free shipping in the US. And even though the tariffs have gone up, we've kept our prices low. So go check it out. Let us know if you have any questions, and we hope you enjoyed the podcast.